It's a boxing film that has more to do with the psychology of boxing and the intensity of the preparation. So it's like a boxing film that we haven't, from an angle that we haven't seen before. I've been looking for a boxing movie to make, but I wasn't sure what it was. You know, boxing movies are difficult because they've been done so well, and they've been done with such huge budgets in the past, and we had such a little budget on this one and such short shooting days. We had 25 days to shoot the film, so it was trying to find an angle that was interesting. And I read the script by Justin Bull, and I just thought it was a fascinating insight into a boxing movie that I hadn't seen before. And so I thought this is really interesting, and it captures you and doesn't let go. And I thought the story really was, the intensity of the story was the thing that I remember speaking to Mark Lane and saying, I'd love to direct this. When I was young, I was into Taekwondo, and then later when I moved to London, I started boxing. So that was my sort of go-to keep fit method, and I've been very interested in martial arts all of my life. So yeah, there's that inherent interest in the material. And again, you know, probably why I haven't done anything up until now was finding what it was that really, if you want to say something, it feels like you have to have something to say. And so it was really taking the time to find that thing. And I think this was the one that I thought, this is going to be really interesting for me.
So much of the character came from just the preparation, actually. You know, there was a massive amount of prep in order to drop the weight. I think I dropped about 35 pounds in preparation. And what was interesting was it wasn't so much the weight loss as what that did to your headspace. Like the lack of calorie intake, and then like stepping into the mindset of you know, this character who's living with a lot of history, shall we say, that's led to, you know, why does a person put themselves through these kinds of extremes? To what drives somebody to need to do this to themselves? And I think that's a very unique take on just, it's very transferable to all people, right? We did shoot the film in reverse. So that was a kind of interesting aspect too, because we started at my lightest weight, because I had a nutritionist, Philip Goglia, who was like, who's worked in the film business with actors before, and he said, well, you're not really going to be able to function like on set without, so you should be eating through the movie. So we shot chronologically, but in reverse, which was, with a 25-day film schedule, it was just a little bit of spice to add to the excitement of getting it
You had
getting
fun at
it
the
done.
end, though, didn't you? There was lots of
Yeah,
ice
just lots
cream,
of
double
ice cream,
pasta.
lots of desserts. Yeah, exactly. It was interesting trying to put the weight on, actually, because I was at about 152 pounds when we started filming, but then in order to look like Boxer was carrying 185 or more, you know, to have that weight, I had to just like gorge food, which was an interesting process in itself, I think. So that was in such a short window as well. That was like added challenge for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge shooting a film in chronological order in the best of times, but to actually shoot it in reverse chronological order. I mean, emotionally, for the characters to understand where they are, you know, normally it's you're moving towards something, whereas here we were moving away from something in reverse, and so it was just, you know, it was a huge Rubik's cube that we had to piece together, you know, emotionally where the actors were at any given time, because obviously we're shooting it backwards, but yeah, so that was the challenge.
Yeah, Caitlin, I mean, were we married or we just, I don't know, it's girlfriend,
Life
wife,
partners.
life partners. Yeah, their relationship. I mean, this is what we sort of talked about from the very beginning, is that it had to be anchored in this real deep connection that they have. And I think they have an understanding of each other. They have a shared understanding of trauma, I think. And I think they're both at slightly different parts of their life in terms of where they are in processing that. I think Caitlin's in a further along state of having dealt with some of the dark things that she's gone through, but she's not there yet. But she understands Boxer. She understands where he's at and his needs. And I think that's the big challenge for her. You know, she can kind of see he's on this road to destruction, but, you know, with the tools that she has, she knows that he has to sort of follow that path to a certain extent. And in a way, she kind of, you know, she invites Boz into the process. So she's sort of complicit. But, you know, I think it's really their love and their connection and the kind of heartbreak that is experienced of her watching how deeply in pain he is. I mean, that was sort of, yeah, it was the very kind of sweet part of the film when in the moments we get to do that.
There was so much in the subtext, and I think the way that like Katrina played that was just like there was less on the page and more what she brought to the character and to the relationship that was so beneficial that we shared that kind of like deep rooted pain, as you said. And
yeah, but it was, I mean, it's incredible, you know, to watch what Orlando went through and the dedication and the commitment he had, and then also, like, you know, to start the film at those kind of like really intense climactic moments at the end. You know, it was sort of a really interesting challenge to be able to sort of walk in at that point and be like, okay, we're starting here. But I think that was so good about, you know, obviously I most of my background is in TV, and you sort of do that a lot in TV where you have the scripts and you don't know at what point you're starting that at all. But in film, it's so nice to sit with a script for a good few weeks, and so you can really, you know, have that embodied in you before you step on set at all. So,
you know, all the characters are kind of like outcasts in some way. Almost everyone in the film, you know, is coming from their own tumultuous, you know, previous life. So, so I think he's sort of, you know, up against it too. You know, it's not like he's living large. You know what I mean? He's got one fighter and probably lots of debts, and so he comes in and assesses the situation and, you know, gets involved as that's why he's hired, you know, to do it. And then, you know, you connect with each other, and, you know, basically you don't know what you're going to really do until you work with Orlando and Katrina and Sean and all the other actors. So you got to keep it. You have to be a bit of a jazz player, you know, and see what's going on at the same time. And he was putting himself through a lot of arduous, torturous work. So it's right in front of you, and if you take it in, then you can you know play with that. But I thought there's kind of a struggle for who's going to possess him, you know, between Katrina and I. And there's this kind of father-son type of thing or older brother thing. So I thought it was a really original script, and I really enjoyed working with everyone tremendously. And I have to say that was quite a challenge for especially Orlando, but for Sean, you know, who was shooting the film and directing the film. And, you know, you look for things that are original. And I think there's an originality within that, what people will be willing to do, you know, to survive and to compete. And we see that in sports, and that's one of the things that attracts us, because it's so definitive. You know, you're a loser or a winner. It's different when you're in an artistic endeavor, you know. I think that's one thing I like about being in a creative field, you know, even though you do feel like a loser sometimes. So, yeah.